I can focus on all the things that I left behind and how hard it is and how hard it was, or I can focus on the opportunities ahead. And I had the job, I had good pay, benefits, a great team, but I felt inside that there was something missing, that just something wasn't adding up. And that's when I finally paused to ask myself, what do I want? I made a conscious decision to leave that comfortable, cozy life that I had in Canada and that I worked so hard for, to start this new chapter in my life as a nomad and to start traveling to different places in Latin America and to bet on myself. That's a question that I love to ask myself. Even instead of asking myself, why not me? Asking myself, why me? Who you are when no one is watching you? What do you do in those moments when no one is watching you and you're the only one who has to hold yourself accountable? That's what matters to me.
Today on Nemology, we have Mena Cardenas. She left Colombia at 17 as a refugee. She arrived in Canada without speaking any English, without money, and built a successful career in corporate banking. She had the salary, the title, the stability, and still chose to walk away. In this episode, we'll talk about identity, self-doubt, empty success, and the power of choosing discomfort to redesign your life. This is Mena Cardenas. Ximena, welcome to Nemology.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited.
I wanted to hear more about you because you are also a fellow Canadian, originally from Colombia.
Yes.
And you had quite an interesting life. And now you're back to Colombia, escaping the cold winter of Canada and also the corporate life of the 9-to-5 job and everything like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's been amazing how we even met. It was through a coincidence, which I happened to go to a networking event here in Medellin 3 days after being here. And then someone mentioned your name, put us in touch, and then we just had so many things in common. So it's just beautiful to see how all these serendipities and things happen because we were meant to meet and be here.
Absolutely. And, I truly believe in that because I always want to have super interesting guests in my show that I personally find interesting because sometimes, especially interviewing, you have to have that sort of, interest in the other person's life and their journey so you can have interesting things come out. So I wanted to ask you, what is your origin story? What was it like? Did you grow up in Colombia or did you leave early? What happened?
I grew up here in Colombia. I was 17 when I left, not by choice. It was, and we were talking about it earlier, it was crisis. Back then we had guerrillas, the guerrillas being very strong here in Colombia. And they kidnapped a few of my family members. The last one was my grandmother, who was also a murderer. And that's when my mom said, okay, that's it. We're done. We're leaving Colombia. We had no idea where we were going to go. She started applying to different countries for refugee status. And Canada was the one who approved our application. And we moved to Canada. So it was like, okay, pack your bags and go and leave. And it's been 20 years now, and it's very beautiful to come back, but from a whole different perspective and place and point of view. And I was actually at the biggest meditation event, again, by accident, here in Medellin a couple of days ago. And it was just so beautiful to come back and be able to embrace my country from a different perspective, from admiration, from a place, not from a place of pain and what I left behind, but how beautiful it is to come back and see it and how resilient it is. And Medellin, that is like a city that has gone through so much, which I feel like it represents the story of so many Colombians and my story, that we've gone through violence, crime, drugs, like so many things, and we're still able to show that beautiful side of the country that is not just crime and all the negative things that we hear in the news, but there's also so much beauty and I was able to experience that when I came in that event, and it's been a very healing process so far.
Yeah, I think that you have to go through a little bit of that because, for me as well, growing up in the war in former Yugoslavia, you have such a different ideology of everything that's going on there because you're no longer there. So your memory is still fresh from what you left.
Yeah.
And then when you go there as an adult or even just later on, you kind of realize, oh man, like, these guys still kept living, everything still kept moving and improving and
Yeah.
changing, but in your mind it still kind of stays the same.
Yeah.
So it needs to kind of be like a refresh where you go and experience it again to have new experiences that are going to wash out some of those negative painful ones that you
Totally.
had, right?
Yeah, totally. And the news, especially when you like move abroad, is like, what do you hear? That, oh, third world country, there are no opportunities, only the bad stuff is portrayed. So to come back 20 years later and to be able to see how beautiful it is, and to see so many foreigners love Colombia and live here, wanting to stay here, it's been very refreshing for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you were in Canada, what was that like? Because you got there pretty much, I guess, I mean, you were a teenager still, but you were pretty much almost an adult,
Hmm.
and you had to figure out, how do you, start your career? Where do you want to work? So what was that like? And what led you to banking? Because you worked in TD Bank, right?
Yes. So when I moved to Canada, it was mostly like, how can I make sure that I am successful? I don't want to be here struggling and going through the motions. And I became obsessed with work. And I was like, there's one thing that I have in my mind, and I have to get ahead. And I need to learn English, because as soon as I got there, I didn't speak English. And it was very rough. Not gonna lie. And, like any immigrant can relate to this. I'm sure you can relate. It
Yeah.
wasn't obviously easy. And it was through a lot of hardships and not having any idea how I'm gonna make it, where's the money gonna come from, am I gonna survive, am I gonna be someone here in this country. That's when I said, okay, Ximena, you gotta do something. Like, I cannot just like struggle and suffer. I didn't move all the way here to struggle and suffer. And at that time, I was a refugee, and we didn't have money. I didn't speak English. I didn't have money. I was 17. I didn't know anybody. I was in a brand new country. And it was like, okay, I have two choices. I can focus on all the things that I left behind and how hard it is and how hard it was, or I can focus on the opportunities ahead. And I started to focus on that, on the opportunities ahead. I learned English, went to high school, found two jobs. I was like working nonstop, going to school. And eventually I got a job at TD. I used my experience. I had worked at Walmart as a cashier. And my sister happened to have a job at TD because she used to work at a coffee shop next to a TD bank. And she kept asking the manager every time he went for his coffee. She was like, hey, I want to work at TD. How can I work there? Like, please just give me a chance, give me an opportunity. And it was very courageous and brave of her. And the guy's like, okay, if I don't give this girl a chance, she's not gonna let me go back to that coffee
She's gonna spit
shop.
in my coffee.
She's gonna spit in my coffee, and I need to give her an opportunity. But that really taught me the power of perseverance and
Hmm.
like just going after what you want, saying it out loud. So many of us maybe shy away from saying what we want. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh no, like he's the manager. I just work at a coffee shop or whatever. But no, my sister really insisted until he agreed to give her an interview. She got the job. And then I was like, okay, if my sister got the job, I can get the job, because she didn't have any background in finance or whatsoever. I didn't either. But she showed me what was possible.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm a keynote speaker, and that's something that I say in my talks. Is like, find someone who shows you what is possible, and we can really use comparison in our favor. And instead of comparing in a negative way, that, oh, this person got this and I didn't, or whatever, it's like, how can she show me what is possible.
Right.
And that's what I did. And I said, okay, if my sister did it, I can do it. And I also got a job there. I started as a cashier, as a teller, and worked my way up. As soon as I got there, I was like, okay, I know that there's another way to get out of just being a teller. How can I be a financial advisor, and how can I be a manager, and what's the path ahead? And I've always been very visionary and a dreamer. I love to dream. It's free to dream. So many people don't even allow themselves to dream. And I'm like, just allow yourself to dream.
Yeah.
And that's what I started doing. And I was like, okay, now that I have this big dream, how can I get there? And that's how I started to build my path and my career today.
And since then, I mean, you left that career, what, like 2 years ago?
2 years ago, I left. Yeah.
And what was that experience like? Because a lot of people, they might be, um, in a job. And I always tell people, like, look, it's better to work for smaller companies closer to the boss or the owner or the CEO, because there's always opportunity for you there and you matter more. Whereas in a place like TD or anything really large and corporate, there's not a lot of upward, opportunities and momentum. You just kind of have to spend the time,
Mm-hmm.
network with the right people, and then maybe somebody will push you up. And I know this from a personal experience because my my cousin, he's a regional manager of like for all of Ontario for I forget the banks in Canada. There's five. What was the one with the pink sign?
With the
Um,
well, there's Scotia, BMO.
BMO, yeah,
Okay.
BMO. So he works for BMO, and he started like a teller, right? Immigrant to Canada, started like a teller, and worked his way up. He became a manager of a branch, and then they had him managing two branches because of like a circumstance. One of their managers quit, so they said, "Can you go between these two locations?" Because
Mm-hmm.
Toronto, like they're all close.
Yeah.
He said sure, and he did a good job there. And then he just kept going up and up and up, and now he's like managing, like I don't know what do they call it, like managing director or something like that for
Mm-hmm.
like the entire, like for all of Ontario. So his story is something that can be replicated, but at the end of the day, he doesn't own it.
Yeah.
He still has to invest, and he does. He invests in real estate outside of his job, and that's what secures his long-term wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Because any of these sort of jobs, they're always going to lead to the same thing, which is as soon as you stop working, the paycheck is going to stop.
Yeah.
So, what was that like for you, where you kind of succeeded in the corporate sense, and you came to a point where you're making these realizations where now you want to do something for yourself? What was that like?
Yeah, I think for me, when I moved to Canada, it was mostly from a surviving place. Like I need to grow from a survival point. And that worked until it didn't.
Yeah.
And until I finally had everything I thought I wanted from the success checklist that life and society um, tells us that we need to follow in a way. And I had the job, I had good pay, benefits, a great team, but I felt inside that there was something missing, that just something wasn't adding up. And I kept checking boxes, and it's like, and we tell ourselves, oh, once I get this, then I'll feel happy and successful. Once I get this, once I get that, I just need to get this. And I was going through life like that. Oh, I have the job. Okay, now I need a promotion. Okay, now I need a raise. Okay, now I need to get married and lose weight and do this and do that, until I had it all. And I still felt like there was something off. And that's when I finally paused to ask myself, what do I want? What does success look like to me? How do I know when I'm successful? Because technically I am, but I don't feel successful. I feel like there's still something that's missing. And even though TD is a great company and I absolutely love it and I have great relationships there still, I didn't like really see myself there for the rest of my life. Like, oh, I'm going to retire here as a branch manager or as a whatever, right? I just didn't see it. I felt this deep calling that was like very purpose driven. And at the time, who knows what's going to happen in the future, but at the time, it just didn't feel like the bank was that place. And for me to stay was to ignore completely that calling and that voice and my purpose, which I did for some time until I just started to dim my own light. And it started to feel like I was just going through the motions, same routine, same stuff every day. Sure, I was doing a good job, um, but it just didn't move me.
Yeah. So what would you say was the hardest part about actually making that step and quitting that perfect life?
Oof, it was definitely the identity piece that I had worked for so long to be known as this person. And I define myself as my job. And, a lot of people do. And I was the one who worked at TD and I was the executive assistant or the manager of customer service. I had a stable job. So to let go of that and of that identity in a way, it makes you really question, okay, who am I if I don't have that? And that was the hardest process for me. It was being okay with myself without the job and not letting the job define me. But like knowing that, hey, whether I'm at TD or at another company or doing my own thing, I am Mena Cardenas and I am extremely capable and resilient and all the incredible, amazing things without the successful job on
Yeah.
paper.
Wow. So what would you say in your life was your darkest moment?
Oof, I've had a lot. um, I would say, probably recently. Recently, this year has been rough. And obviously, leaving Colombia and going there was a rough moment, but I had, in a way, I didn't have a choice, or it
Hmm.
felt like I didn't have a choice. I have to go. I have to start again and find my way there. But now, this year, I made a conscious decision to leave that comfortable, cozy life that I had in Canada and that I worked so hard for to start this new chapter in my life as a nomad and to start traveling to different places in Latin America and to bet on myself. And that was a very dark period because it felt like I was going crazy.
Mm.
And there was nothing wrong. There was no crisis. Nobody was kicking me out of Canada, like, how I felt like when I was leaving Colombia. So it felt like I was doing this to myself. And it felt like I was like throwing a bomb to my own life
Yeah.
and destroying in a way everything I had worked so hard for. And that was a dark time for sure.
Understandably so. So I wanted to ask you, who would you say is like an influence or a coach or a mentor that's been the most helpful to you in your life?
um I've had a few, but right now the person that comes to mind is someone that I work with. Her name is Michelle Polar, and I'm part of her business, which is called Créetelo, and we help women entrepreneurs believe in themselves, in their power, sell themselves without fear. And yeah, I've been with them for 2 years now since I left TD, also helping them grow their business. And it has really helped me to grow as well. And the community itself has been huge for me. And we call ourselves creídas, which in Spanish means full of yourself. And we're all over the world. And to be able to come to Medellin and have creídas here in Medellin help me and guide me. Or if I go to Mexico or Miami, wherever I go, the community is there. So having that community, Michelle, the team has been a huge help for me. And just community in general. Like
Yeah.
you really can't grow on your own.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. It really does take a team, it takes a village,
Yeah.
and the bigger your community, the easier things get,
Yeah.
right? I
Totally.
mean, it's really hard being a lone wolf, and even when you go
Yeah.
camping, like go camping by yourself for a weekend and just see how hard it is, right? You
Yeah.
have to do everything. And if you don't do it, nobody will. And when you have a team, a lot more can get done in a shorter amount of time.
100%.
Yeah.
And just even that person that believes in yourself when sometimes you don't, is having that team that is like, hey, you're going through a rough time, but we're gonna make it. Before we started recording this, it started pouring, and it's
Yeah.
your team who comes and is like, okay, we got this, and we were able to record. Like, imagine you and I here alone, or you by yourself. Like, it's not
Yeah.
possible.
I don't like cleaning, rainy gutters and sewage. So,
Exactly.
so let me ask you this. So what do you think is, from what you're doing now, with you're doing a lot of consulting, you're empowering people to be better and to remove mental limitations. And what do you think is like a common thing that you deal with? Because obviously everybody thinks that their own problem is unique.
Yeah.
But when you're in the space, I'm sure you see certain patterns.
Mhm.
So what do you think is something that's constantly repeating that's like a block of people's potential?
Self-doubt. Without a doubt.
Without a doubt, self-doubt.
Without a doubt, self-doubt. A lot of the times we think it's fear.
Hmm.
Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of success, fear of whatever. But fear is a natural human emotion. It is there for a purpose. If I'm here in Medellin and I want to walk at midnight on a side street that looks a little sketchy, I want fear to kick in to warn me, hey, maybe you shouldn't walk that way. And I want to listen to it and get out of it. So fear is normal. We have demonized, in a way, fear. Fear has its purpose. But what keeps us stuck is the stories we tell ourselves when that fear shows up. So, yes, maybe I'm going to start a business that is completely out of my comfort zone. And fear comes up and it's like, hey, are you sure you want to go that way? I want to protect you. I want to keep you in your safe zone. And it's your choice to say, hey, we're not in danger. This is not a life or death situation. I'm not walking on a sketchy side
Yeah.
street where I need to run. I got this. Fear, you can step aside, and I got this because I know that even if I quote unquote fail, I'm going to grow and I'm going to learn from it. And when you have that confidence in yourself, that's when you can actually remove fear out of the equation and silence that emotion with confidence.
Hmm.
But when there's no confidence in yourself and you're doubting your ability, that's when the fear gets louder. And it's like, no, you really can't do this because you don't have that confidence in yourself. But if you believe in yourself and you believe that, hey, no matter what, I'm going to grow, I'm going to make it, I'm going to figure things out, it's going to be okay, I'm going to be a better person, even if I make the wrong decision, then that's when you can actually grow.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And so would you say that when you're working with people, and you're helping them you're guiding them through this self-doubt, what do you think are some of the techniques that you use to get them to move forward?
Okay, I love to find evidence. Also asking better questions. In our mind, we get limited by the questions that we ask ourselves and also the things that we tell ourselves.
Mm.
If I tell myself there's no way I can do this, okay, that's a limitation. But like, how can you ask yourself a better question? Like, how can I make it happen instead of there's no way I can do this? When you ask yourself a question, and there's something that is called affirmations. We've heard of affirmations, I am abundant, I am
Yeah, of
successful, I
course.
am confident, or whatever.
Yeah.
But turning that into a question, because that gives your brain a homework to find the solution. Okay, why are you the right person for that? Why you? That's a question that I love to ask myself. Even instead of asking myself, why not me? Asking myself, why me? Why am I the right person for that job or that opportunity? And that makes your brain think, okay, why me? Why me? Why me? And it allows you to find the evidence to show, like, hey, here's why. And that starts to build that trust in yourself. that confidence.
Wow, that's very interesting. So you're giving a homework assignment to your brain to find evidence of why you are the right person or capable of something,
Yeah.
rather than just empty
Yes.
affirmations saying, why not me? And now you got to come up with like empty reasons.
Totally. Or, oh, I can do this, I can do this. But in the back of your mind, subconsciously, you're like, there's no way you can do that because that's a deep rooted belief. And yes, maybe in the past you failed and you made a mistake or whatever. So now your brain is protecting you. And even though you're repeating an affirmation, subconsciously, you're not believing the affirmation. So it's very important to find the evidence for your subconscious to actually believe it. Because at the end of the day, it's our subconscious mind the ones that gets us the results. And if I subconsciously don't believe it, it doesn't matter what I consciously think or say, it's not going to register.
That makes complete sense. Actually, one of the most interesting things about that is, and this is something that I always disagreed with. Like, people read the book, like The Secret,
Hmm.
and they went all crazy, like writing down things under their pillow and putting there on their, ceilings and things like that. But it doesn't really cover much. It just gets you a little bit more positive instead
Yeah,
of being negative, which is great. There's a time and place for that as well. But eventually you have to keep leveling up, right?
totally.
And if you just stay there saying, I'm abundant, I'm rich, I'm going to make it. And I see so many people, especially like from high school, people are doing the same thing in their life and like they have these ups and downs in life. And, you always see them, posting the same things. And it's all like this, like, wannabe lifestyle content, but like you're not really doing much. You're just
Yeah,
doing what you do every Thursday.
yeah,
And then you're like feeling myself. And it's like, are you really feeling yourself?
yeah,
Are you actually feeling yourself? Because I feel like that The Secret and, law of attraction and abundance, things like that, I think it'd be very damaging.
yeah,
Because if you keep saying things that are so far out of what you actually believe, you're creating like a negative feedback loop that keeps proving you wrong
yeah.
until you no longer believe in yourself at all, or
Hmm.
you're just completely delusional.
Yeah.
You're just so delusional that it's like there's no way that this makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. I use the tools like a vision board, but for me it's an action board more than a vision. And actually there's an amazing neuroscientist, Dr. Tara Swart, who talks about this too. She teaches at MIT and she talks about manifestation and the law of attraction and all these things, but from a neuroscience perspective. And that's my approach as well with everything I do, my coaching, my talks. It's like how, at a deeper neurological level, you're actually rewiring your brain and reprogramming your mind to make these things work for you, but because you're taking action.
Mm-hmm.
This is only meant to remind you of like, hey, this is the life that you want, but you have to get uncomfortable. You cannot just sit at home and visualize and repeat affirmations and hope for the best. You
Yeah.
have to get uncomfortable. And that is something that I've been reflecting on a lot lately because of what I just shared with you, that I went through this dark time in my life. And it was by choice that I got uncomfortable because I said, for me, being congruent and having this coherence between what you think, what you say, and your actions, like it all needs to match.
Yeah. Thoughts, words, actions.
Yeah. And I
Absolutely.
cannot just like hope and wish for the best, but have negative thoughts or like be someone I'm not when no one is watching. For me, like who you are when no one is watching you, when the alarm goes off at whatever time in the morning and you're laying there in bed and you're like, oh, I was supposed to work out, but I'm so comfortable here. What do you do in those moments when no one is watching you and you're the only one who has to hold yourself accountable? That's what matters to me. And for me, if I want to build this life, I need to get uncomfortable on purpose to build the life that it's on my vision board.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, I think that's a huge thing that you mentioned there is, what do you do when nobody's looking in those moments? And this is the other thing, right? Like sometimes when you set these massive goals, it really depends on your willingness to accept change as well, because there's two sides of the training balance scale. You have the willingness to learn, and you have the willingness to accept change.
Hmm.
And if your willingness to learn is 10 out of 10, you're super motivated, you're like, I'm going to lose 50 pounds by next year, I'm so down, I'm studying all the right stuff. And then your willingness to accept change has to be, okay, well, maybe that means you have to work out twice a day, stop eating McDonald's, make healthier choices. But you're not willing to do that,
Yeah.
and you're not willing to give up certain things. Well, then your likelihood of success, like if your willingness, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to do this on my vision board, I'm so fit, I'm awesome. Okay, it's 10 out of 10. But then the other side matters too, your willingness to accept change. And if it's like a 3 out of 10, well, then you multiply the two together and you have a 30% success rate.
Yeah.
So that's the chance that you're actually going to lose 50 pounds. It's 30%.
Hmm.
So sometimes, you have to have that burning desire to achieve what you want, and you actually have to feel it. It has to be motivating to you. It doesn't need to be like this massive, super scary goal that you're like, man, I don't ever really believe I'll accomplish this, but I'm just gonna keep it there anyway.
Yeah.
So I think there's something to be said about that, because I love having super big, scary goals, but I don't try to focus on them as much as I do the things that I know can happen like tomorrow if I just work really hard.
Totally.
And I think that's a big, big misconception in that sort of entire like info industry, right? The whole informational space, right? A lot of people are telling you, be positive, write down all your shit, and listen, it's not impossible. Some people can actually motivate themselves to that, but it's like 9 times out of 10, they're also doing a massive amount of work too.
Yeah.
It's very rare that somebody can just like sit there, meditate all day, and everything's gonna happen.
Yeah. No, it doesn't work that way. You have to get uncomfortable and to make it happen. And it's a process for sure. I love to also dream big, but for me it's also very important to break things down in a very simple way. And this is also, I tell everyone, dream really big, but you got to go very small when it comes to action, because otherwise you're going to overwhelm yourself and you're going to start to procrastinate.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, building momentum is a skill. And once you have it, you need to do everything you can to protect it so you don't lose it.
Hmm.
Because starting again is the hardest thing in the world.
Hmm.
When you lose that momentum from making, a mistake or the wrong turn, it's the hardest thing to get back. So when you have these occurrences in life and you have this really big, big goal, if you're not willing to reverse engineer the plan of how you're
Hmm.
going to accomplish that, then you probably picked a goal that's too big.
Yeah,
You
totally.
know,
It's not sustainable.
no. And I mean, listen, you don't even have to sit there and think about it and write it all out. Like, you have ChatGPT,
Yeah.
right? Have a conversation with AI. Like, hey, this is my idea. Does this make sense? How can I achieve this? What's the work required to do this? Give me an actionable, 2 hours per day item list of things I need to accomplish to get to my goal. And it'll do that for you.
Mhm.
And if you're not willing to put in those 2 hours, then just pick a different goal, because you don't really want it bad enough anyway, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And which is very important, like the purpose behind it. Like, why do you actually want that? What is that going to do for you? Like weight loss, it was a big goal that I had forever. And I thought I had to diet for the rest of my life. And there was no real, like, yeah, it was just because I thought I had to.
Yeah.
And it's what I was supposed to do. And I'm supposed to weigh X amount of pounds. But when you really find that deep why behind your goal and the reason behind it, that's when you stop also procrastinating, because it becomes part of who you are. It's so important to you that no one has to like force you to do it.
That's super important too. Yeah. And I mean, look, this is also why it's important to have people ahead of you and be in rooms where you're not the biggest fish in the
Yeah.
pond, and other people can motivate you, and being at certain events or around people and having, accountability partners or coaches. It's really, really important to help get you to the next level. But you also have to do the work yourself and understand that whatever you're choosing to do, you have to truly believe in it and be willing to do the work to get there. So you can get there two ways. You can pick a massive goal and work towards it your whole life, and that can work. Or pick a bunch of small little goals to build your confidence, because I accomplished this, I accomplished this, I accomplished this. And after 3, 4 successes, now you can say, oh, maybe now I'm ready for a bigger goal or a bigger vision, because I already have the proof that I can do it.
Totally. And coming back to that, finding proof, not just in yourself and in your life, but also what you just said about surrounding yourself with people who are ahead. Sometimes we want to be the one who is like the biggest fish in the room, but it's like, no, that limits you. But when you are able to be intimidated in a room, that's a good thing, because that means that you're stepping out of your comfort zone and you are surrounded by people who are showing you bigger things that are possible. And that, for your subconscious mind, is very important, because it's that proof that, oh, okay, if that person did it, I can do it too.
I completely agree with that. And I think this is the way that I look at it, and this is the way that I try to live my life. Sometimes it feels nice to be the big fish in the room,
Yeah,
right?
for
And
your ego.
everybody wants that. It's good for your confidence too. You need to experience that sometimes so you can appreciate how far you've come. And I think you need to do it often enough so you're not surprised
Hmm.
by your success. Because sometimes you can leave where you're comfortable, go on a grand journey, have many successes, come back and be uncomfortable with what people think of you now, because they're
Hmm.
like, oh my God, you did all this. That's so amazing. Wow. And you're like, whoa, we used to be just friends. And now you're looking at me like I did all these, and you get uncomfortable with your own success.
Mm.
So I think it's important to have a way to release that
Mhm.
often. And the best way I found is by giving back.
Mm.
So whether it's a charity or just helping your local community, or even like free coaching or mentorship or helping children or teens, even especially, and having that guidance. And this is especially if you're in business. I mean, you can very easily do this. You don't have to turn it into a business. You don't have to be a coach, but you can go to a free, you can go to a high school and just speak for free, and it'll
Yeah.
be good content for you. And you'll also be able to educate the new generation on what you've personally gone through. And in return, this also makes you understand, because a lot of these guys are going to come up and say, oh my God, I want to work with you. I want to help you. Can I work for free? Can you coach me? Can you mentor me? And if you get into that, you'll see what you want and what you expect, and you'll see the mistakes they make and the things they don't do. Like
Mhm.
some people say, yeah, I want this, and then you give them a chance and they do nothing.
Yeah.
So when you're in that position with somebody way up higher than you in different circles where you are that small fish, you'll also have those reps of like, I know what not to do, and
Mhm.
I know what this person wants of me, because you've already had that experience where you're on the other side. So now you can support, maybe you find that lion where you pull the thorn out of his paw, and now you have a friend forever. And I think that that's something that you have to have an outlet for both. Because if you're always, oh, I'm just a student, I'm just learning, then well, then like, what's the point? Like, you always
Yeah.
feel like shit. You're always like, man, I'm
Yeah,
always the
totally.
shittiest guy in the
Yeah.
room. And you could be like a multimillionaire. You can have like $500 million in the bank account and equity and stocks and whatever. And you're hanging out with like billionaires that are worth 100 billion. You're like, fuck, like, this
Yeah.
sucks,
Yeah.
Like, I'm still a loser. Why is this not working? So you need to have an outlet for that as
Mhm.
well. But again, it doesn't help if you go all the way the other way.
Yeah.
If you're always the big boss and the big fish, now you're just stuck there and you're not really
You're not
learning.
growing. Yeah.
And what happens is people get toxic, right?
Mhm.
As soon as somebody in that pond gets a little bit bigger, you get scared about your position and you're like, oh shit, I have to do something more or destroy them or hate on them because they're going to beat me. And now I'm not going to feel good anymore. So
Mhm.
it's important to have that balance.
I love that. Because, we're so used to just hearing the one side, surround yourself with people who make way more than you and are better than you and all of that. But just that perspective. Thank you for that. I love that.
Yeah, because think about it, most people would appreciate that, right? Like
Mhm.
when I was just a teenager in high school, I would love for just somebody, even even with like a mechanic shop, to just like mentor me.
Yeah.
And I went and I searched for that and I found that. And it was tremendously helpful. I worked for free just to learn about the industry and what's it like
Mhm.
being a business owner, and what's it like managing cash flow and employees and payroll, and how do you get up in the morning and every day and make sure that you do everything. And one of the things I learned was like, it was a very, very nice mechanic shop that we worked at. We worked on like very, very expensive German automobiles like Porsches and BMWs and Mercedes AMG. And every single day we had a super orange floor. And I was like, fuck, why the hell does this guy have an orange floor? This is so stupid, because it gets so messy, and like a little bit of oil on orange, like you just see it
Yes.
immediately. I'm like, this is the stupidest idea ever. But then what I noticed was every single day, at the end of the day, we would organize all the tools. We would clean all the tools with oil to maintain them. And then we would wash the entire shop. We would move all the cars out, put all the rest of them up, and we would clean it until all you see is perfect orange. And I
Wow.
was like, what? Like, why are we doing this? It's such a waste of time. Like, I hate this.
Yeah.
Like, I came here to be, like a pro mechanic, not to fucking clean floors. And he said, if you have something that is the best in the entire area, then you have to treat it the best. And when people come in here and I charge them $500 for an hour, when they could go down the street to a mechanic for $100 an hour, they expect to have a beautiful orange floor with racing stripes and all this vibe and experience, and see everything is super clean,
Yeah.
because they want to bring their super clean, very expensive vehicles here,
Hmm.
not somewhere where there's, tools all over the place, the mechanic's running around, he's all dirty, he doesn't know where anything is, and the tools are bad. So when you have something like that, it really matters how you treat it. And that was such an important lesson for me. So you might not be like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, but maybe you have like a small, successful business that works
Yeah.
for you. And somebody just needs to hear that,
Yeah.
that it's possible. And how do you take care of that? How do you manage that? So I think giving back is super important in that way as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Otherwise, like, what's the point, right? We just keep chasing more and more and more, and it's never enough.
Never. Yeah, because life gets boring, and what are you gonna do? You're gonna keep. And I don't think it's bad to want more. It's just that I think if you're constantly worried, you have to feel good about it,
hundred
right?
percent.
Like people say, "Oh, you have $50 million in the bank. Why don't you just retire and don't do anything?" Well, because life is boring.
Yeah. Yeah.
Life is boring.
Totally.
There's new challenges, and I worked so hard to get the 50 million. I want to use more of my skills now.
And it's good to, and
Yeah.
ambition with purpose is a very good thing that the world needs. I always tell, I work with a lot of women who want to do good in the world, and part of the work that I do is breaking through limiting beliefs around money and
Hmm.
charging. And we almost feel bad for wanting more, because we've been taught that, oh, you should be grateful, and there's so many people who don't have what you have, and like we do it from a place of guilt. And it's like, no, you are allowed to want and have more from a place of enoughness, because there's the other side, right, where you just get caught up, which is what happened to me, in I need more and more, and maybe this or maybe that, and it was never enough. But how can you go about it from a place of enough, like I have enough, I feel enough, I am enough, and because of that, that is the reason that I want more, because that is what's going to make the actual difference in the world, is when you feel good about yourself and you feel like you're enough and you have enough and you want to give back to the world. And I mean, we need money to make change, not just
Yeah.
good, not just good energy.
No, of course, I agree with that 100%. I wanna ask you, what was your biggest mistake?
um I don't know if I call them mistakes. I think, even, when sometimes you get asked, oh, what would you tell your younger self, or like if you could go back and do things differently, and I wouldn't, because every decision that I've made, whether I liked it or not, brought me to where I am today. And if I had done it differently, then I wouldn't be here. So I don't really think that there are mistakes. I think that there's always growth and opportunities and lessons. And I see them as life lessons that brought me to where I am.
I love it. Amazing. Very good.
Yeah.
I want to do a rapid fire round with
All
you.
right. Let's do it.
What is a book that changed your life?
A book that changed my life. I'm going to say The Universe Has Your Back by Gabby Bernstein. Maybe because I don't know if it's so much the content, but the moment where I was in my life, and that book came in that moment where I had hit a rock bottom
Hmm.
in my life, and I felt like, wow, I am really alone.
Yeah,
And I got that book, and it was, no, you're not alone, because even when you think you're alone, the universe has your back.
I love that.
Hmm.
Amazing. Okay, here comes my favorite question. Who would you identify yourself with from any movie, cartoon, anime, history, book, fiction, nonfiction? Which character would you identify with most?
Well, my name is spelled with an X, Ximena, and a lot of people call me Xena, the warrior.
The warrior princess.
The warrior princess. And I even think my name has that connotation because of
Yeah.
our princess warrior. And I feel like that's very, very much me. Like, I'm very determined, resilient, and it's always like, okay, how can I make things happen? And it's that warrior fire in me, for sure.
Amazing. I love that. Yeah, me and my dad used to watch that show when I was little. Great show. Okay. What's your biggest red flag in a person?
Somebody who says one thing but does another, where
Hmm,
there's no coming back to that congruence, coherence. If you're not congruent and you say one thing, or you say you're this person but then you do something else behind people's back, someone who doesn't have integrity, honesty, that's a red flag. Yeah.
love it. What's the best money you ever spent?
Oh, vacation,
Vacation.
experiences,
Yeah,
travel. That's I really think twice before buying clothes or shoes or like material things in that way. But for me, experiences, retreats, vacation, going out with friends, that to me that's the best money spent.
amazing. What's something that you changed your mind on recently?
Something that I changed. I feel like I do change quite often. Being that Libra that I want two sides. Um Maybe the idea that you manifest everything in your life, coming back to that manifestation, law of attraction, or, we hear that we attract everything, we manifest everything. I don't believe that we manifest everything. I don't believe we manifest, an abusive relationship, or I didn't manifest my grandmother being kidnapped and murdered. There are certain things in life that happen because it's part of your plan and you're meant to, grow and evolve from it, but you don't necessarily attract it unless, let's say, for example, an abusive relationship. If it happens to you and you don't learn and grow from it, and you keep attracting the same pattern, then yes, you're attracting that. But I don't believe that you initially manifest that.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. 60-second message to the world. What would you say?
Oof, a lot of pressure. That you all have the power to create the life that you want to live in your own terms when you get uncomfortable on purpose and design that life.
I love it. What do you think 18-year-old Ximena would say about you today?
It's very beautiful because I'm back in Colombia 20 years later.
Yeah.
And that girl would say, wow, I am so proud of you. I was the shy girl, the good girl, the one who didn't want to bother, didn't want to talk to make others uncomfortable, didn't want to have the difficult conversation. So I would just let things go, or just let it go, or just forget it. I hate conflict. I avoid conflict. So I was like, oh, maybe just don't say anything. Just let it go. Just be, good and quiet. And now I'm someone completely different in a good way, that I embrace the hard conversations. I embrace um, expressing how I feel and telling people how I feel from a place of love and growth, but saying it.
Mm,
Yeah.
I
That's
love
something
that.
that has completely changed from who I was at 18.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Well, how can people get in touch with you? Where can they find you?
Instagram, LinkedIn, social media, in Spanish at soy Mena Cardenas, menacardenas.com, Mena Cardenas in LinkedIn, all everywhere, social media.
I love it.
I am there.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome.
It was an absolute pleasure, guys. Until next time, this was Nemology with Ximena, and peace out. If there's one thing this episode makes clear, it's this. External success doesn't replace internal alignment. Ximena reminds us that self-doubt doesn't disappear by waiting for confidence. It fades when you act. Reinvention is scary, but staying where you don't belong costs you a lot more. If this episode moved you, share it, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next Nemology.